was like a bomb going off in the middle of the music industry. Within 1 week, it felt like the world became totally obsessed with this pandemic.
The touring environment was getting more and more unpredictable.
The whole world literally got shut down. It was an epic feeling of emptiness.
It was pretty obvious it was going to be a showstopper.
I mean, this is a brand new animal. No one knew how to deal with this.
And the reality of, all the decisions we've all had to make about, staff, keeping them, letting them go. Do you do shows? Do you not go? I was able to, sit down with my wife and go, hey, listen, we're at a point where it's all or nothing.
John gave me a remit very early that was both exciting and frightening at the same time. He said, we're going to go do this. Your job is to do what you need to do to make sure this goes ahead.
With some radical hope, we just kind of buckled up and started planning for summer against the grain. I've got a love of water and beaches and salt air. We had done a show with the Cat Empire in 2016, I think, at Glenelg Beach, and I had my feet in the water while the Cat Empire were playing, and it was at that moment I went, this is it, this is exactly what I want to do, and I kind of set out to set up SummerSalt and ByTheC and Castaway, so different demographics for different brands.
John and his crew really curated an amazing lineup of really like-minded musicians and working musicians.
We started working on the lineup October 2019. It got to about August 2020 and we started working on how we're going to announce all these shows.
John Zaccaria said we're going to put together a tour and we're going to do big outdoor shows and we're going to make it COVID safe and we're going to celebrate people getting back together again.
We were building the shows a lot differently to the way we'd previously done them, and what was wonderful was that people were buying the tickets, but the problem was the uncertainty. It was that big question mark over whether the shows were going to happen or not.
Initially our team looked at what does this mean, where do we go? We specialise in health and medical in mass gathering environments. If ever there was a time that was going to be needed, it was in the middle of a pandemic where gatherings of people become public enemy number one in every country around the world.
We came up with a plan which we hadn't done before, is to announce a tour show by show. And at that point, we couldn't actually do any of the shows. Obviously with some radical hope, we thought come February, March, April, we would be able to do it.
This was the kind of whole other level of commitment and radical hope. Let's give this shit a go.
It showed the importance of being agile and being able to adapt to what was going on, which of course happened the very first show where we're going to Adelaide.
So it was about 12 o'clock and I was leaving for Adelaide, I think at about 3-ish, I was in Perth. And then at about 1:45, we got a heads up that the border was about to shut.
John would be on the phone, trying to understand what we knew, trying to understand what we didn't know.
And I got a phone call from John's office going, we're hearing that the border to South Australia is about to be shut at midnight. Can you leave tonight?
And it was just this panic. Now, there were 12 bands playing in Adelaide, all of which had a link to Melbourne. And we're trying to book flights, and there are not many flights available. So we need a miracle.
These guys were organizing multiple venues, multiple councils, multiple state governments. People go, oh, it's by the week, it's by the month, things are changing by the minute. And John was picking me up from the airport, personally. And then I'd be in the back of the car, and he'd be like,
this is like crazy. You're having calls with people and you're patching people in who are talking to people, wondering why they're talking.
I was getting patched into group phone calls, which to this day, I still have no idea who was on the other end of it.
No one questioned anything. It was just, what do we need to do? There were people booking charter flights because I don't have time to book charter flights. And then within hours, those people are turning up to places like Adelaide when they were all home 4 or 5 hours prior.
I was in the middle of kids' dinner and I was like, but the show's not till this Saturday. And John was like, I know, they're about to close the borders. They haven't announced it yet, but they're going to announce it within the next 20 minutes.
The last conversation I had with Larry Ponting was, I guess we put a line through this gig. The next time I saw him was jumping off a private plane in Adelaide.
It's show on-ish.
We're setting up the gig. We still didn't have approval from the South Australian Health Department, which adds a whole nother level of crazy to it because you're spending all this money on charter planes, but there is no guarantee of a gig. And then it got to Thursday afternoon and we got the approval. It's just this moment of just madness, complete and utter madness.
The COVID safe planning was extraordinary.
All the rules, all the measures, everything, they were bizarre.
We saw people actively going grey.
Stay, come through, wait, do a test, fly, quarantine, test, okay, play.
There were some really strange things along the way. All of them were necessary.
You have the pressure of getting approval. Once you've done that, you've now got the pressure of delivering an event that you've told a health department that you're going to deliver, which is COVID safe.
Here we were playing outdoors on a beach, thousands of people, and not allowed to stand up, let alone dance.
There's a story of a guy digging out sand so he could dance, so you couldn't see him dancing. He was in the sand dancing, so he was still at chest height. And then you look at the gig with all the COVID marshals and all the security, and you're kind of just happy to be at work.
It was amazing to watch, like, them face those challenges and just ride it like a wild horse. Like, just like, woo!
It's actually happening, mate. Actually happening. We got there.
Sitting there in Adelaide, knowing what we've been up against was an emotional weekend.
It was just remarkable. The punters wanted shows, they wanted live, they wanted to be out and about again, and they understood the repercussions if we didn't do it right.
You know, there'd be the police and the council there too going, this is amazing, we're doing this. You know, it's just like against all odds.
The feeling of getting on stage that first time again was just this ultimate relief.
People like Felix made comments like, we're the only people in the world that are doing this right now.
You know, what's the old adage? The show must go on. That one did. It was one of those things you scratch your head and go, how the fuck did we do that?
I remember walking around Glenelg after a few drinks at about 3 o'clock in the morning, just talking to my wife and just like, oh, what happened? Walking around with pure joy, pure adrenaline.
That's just the start of it. Every single show had a different set of dramas.
So here we are. We're all going to Mornington, and we didn't think any of us were going to be Mornington because we had to go to Canberra. And as of yesterday lunchtime, you couldn't go to Canberra because it was the locked-out to Victoria. But today you can go from Victoria to ACT. So guess what? We're going to Victoria.
The crazy from Sunday in Glenelg kind of become a whole nother level of crazy because Victoria was in lockdown on Wednesday night, and here they are on Saturday partying with 8,000 people.
Funnily enough, I think the Victorian show, which was the place where the most COVID issue was the one that went ahead with the least amount of, say, last-minute curveballs.
We knew during the tour there would be interruptions. We expected a number of the shows to have to be moved and reordered because of local outbreak. But until you have to manage it on the time frame without any notice, you don't know if the systems are going to stand up properly.
We are leaving Canberra. We're sold out show in Ballarat, and then we're flying back to Canberra tonight to get approval on Cronulla tomorrow in a perfect world.
I was with John on the Sunday in Ballarat. He just really lightly said to me over a can of Coke, we've got Cronulla next Saturday and I haven't had sign off by the state government. And he sort of walked off like it was nothing.
Monday, what is it? 1st of March. 1st of March. We're in Canberra. We can't go home. We don't know if we've got a gig this week, but we're going to Sydney anyway.
What is it called? Radical Belief?
Radical Hope. New South Wales health order expired on the 5th of March at midnight, and our show was on the 6th of March.
As of now, we have no final approval from Council, and we still don't have the official notification from New South Wales Health. So, just another day in fucking deadlines.
So, we were having conversations with people like police and council that were saying we're out of time. New South Wales Health telling us that we don't have exemption. We actually got knocked back on the Friday. So we'll try to turn that decision around and get it to a position of being able to do it.
Emails in the inbox. What's it going to say?
Oh my God. What does it say?
We got it.
Oh, fuck, hell.
So when we got approval, the approval came through with fixed and allocated seating.
There's one thing you've got to do to make this show happen. You've got to put in 8,000 plastic chairs.
So you're talking about 7,500 odd people who were just about to be told they are going to be allocated a seat and it's not going to be with their friends.
View from today's stage.
To understand sort of the perfect storm, with Cronulla, the work that goes into postponing or refunding a ticket is as much as selling it. It probably affects, 6, 7, 8 departments. You can't say no. So you've got to work out how to do it. How they did it was basically burning the candle at both ends, doing all-nighters, banding together, working, some did 3 days straight. It was just a remarkable event.
All of these shows were meticulously run. How this happened, I just don't know. You look back at it and go, holy hell, this is, extraordinary.
I've got to say, just the defiance, the defiance of the audience to come and the defiance of the musicians to continue celebrating, but also I've got to take my hats off to the people who actually organised it, because they were running an extraordinary, difficult operation behind the scenes, I'm sure.
It really was an amazing coming together from everyone who just wanted to play a gig.
So our last gig was on the 16th of April 2021, and on the 17th of April I actually had a breakdown. Collapsed on the floor, couldn't breathe. So my body absolutely said to me that was it, that was the end. Certainly felt the pressure of carrying everyone's load. I do that, and I internalise that pressure. I'm not someone that screams, but it was a reality when I was on the ground, basically passed out. Yeah, it was intense. I guess when you look back at what we did, I knew there were things that were going to go wrong. I knew there were challenges, but I did not think that they were going to be as wild and as dangerous and as risky as what it was.
We did it. I say we, I mean, I said yes. And I got on the plane going...
I've got to say they got amazing poker faces and courage, the people involved in this thing. It's a lot of respect to them for holding on.
I don't know how he did it. He just wouldn't take no for an answer, I suppose.
It was tears. There were 100% tears. I get emotional now talking about how did we do this?
Somehow we came out the other end with some really great shows and a bunch of memories that are going to be with us forever, really.
The journey was wild, but it was not possible without the support of all those bands, artists, managers, Ticketmaster, all those people, all the team at Zaccaria. It was definitely a wild ride. We did it, against a massive grain, massive